Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Becky Setre. I hope you're all doing well. So today I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons of working as an agency nurse. So one of my long-term subscribers have asked me to do this video, so this is for you. If this is the first time you have come across my video, why not like, subscribe and share? So if you want to know about the pros and cons of working as an agency nurse in the UK, why not watch the video to the end? Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Becky Setre. I hope you're doing well. I want to start by saying thank you to every one of you who have subscribed to my channel and have been with me since when I started. So if this is the first time you have come across my video, please remember to subscribe, like and share. As I said, on this video you have the opportunity, or on this channel you have the opportunity to ask me to create a video specially for you. If only it's something I can do, I'll do it anyway. So far as it's related to nursing, because I'm a nurse in the UK, and as I always say, I've been here for a long time and I have that experience which I like to share with people to help you on your journey to move here, or for those of you who are already in the UK and wondering, you've got questions, you haven't got anyone to ask, I'm there. Just email me, or you can follow me on Instagram and just message me and I'll reply to you. So anyway, without taking too much of your time, let's talk about the question at hand. So I usually make my notes because it takes a long time to research whatever topic I'm going to talk about, because I want to give you the correct information. So if I'm looking away, do not worry, I'm just looking through my notes. So if you're talking about agency nursing, what is that? Basically in the UK, I recently had an email actually from an agency saying they have loads of shifts all over the country, and they're saying they wanted band 5 nurses, so registered general nurses, they wanted midwives, they wanted people with skills in A&E and critical care, and according to them you can actually earn between £400 per shift, and then, which means you can make, I'm just quoting the email I've had, you can make up to £80,000 per annum, that is per year. My full-time salary is only about half, or a little bit above half from that 80,000. So why not? It's an opportunity. Some of us are not as brave to go into agency. People are brave and they do that and it's working for them. So let's now talk about what is agency nursing, but I'm going to be talking first about having a full-time role, and then we talk about the agency nurses. So in the UK, mainly for you as an overseas nurse, the type of contract you would get, most often you would be getting a contract with a hospital or with a private sector such as a care home. So they would recruit you, you would have a contract with them. No employer would employ you from overseas as a part-time staff. You would definitely get a full-time contract with your employer. So you will be a full-time contract worker as a nurse, working about 37.5 hours for NHS. Private sector like care homes, you might be doing a little bit more, about 40 or 42 hours. It depends on your contract anyway. I heard of situations where people have been recruited as agency staff from overseas, but I do not know much about that, so I cannot comment on that. So if you are recruited by a care home or let's say a hospital, as I said before, you'll be working full-time with them. However, when you are on your free days or you are off, you should be able to work whatever you want to do. You can do a bit of agency, you can work on the hospital bank, although the bank does not pay as compared to agency, but you can supplement your salary. However, you need to check your contract with your employers, because working as an agency is referred to again as some sort of, different sort of contract or job, a second job or so. So you have to find out. Sometimes you have to ask for permission from your employer, maybe your manager, or just let them know you're doing agency. Most people do without, but if you're caught, you'll be in trouble. So just find out. If your contract doesn't say you need to declare that you're doing something else, then that's fine. It's your free time and you're doing what you want to do with your free time. So just check about that. So now let's talk about agency nurses. So agency nurses sometimes are referred to as temporary workers or temporary nurses. But there are some agency nurses who actually are self-employed. So they've registered their role as self-employed. They sort out their own, they get an accountant to sort out their salary and their tax and all that, because you have to pay your tax and everything. So they do those themselves. The only thing they do with an agency is the fact that the agency would find a job for them. So they will get their shifts through an agency. They can't find the shifts themselves, but there are some who have contracts with agencies. So if you are full-time with a hospital and you're doing agency, then it means you are an agency employee, I would say. And so they would do everything for you anyway. So that's about that. So agency nurses, either some of them are self-employed or some are employed by agency. They have a contract with the agency and they give them the shifts, and that is how it works. Now, agency nurses do work in different settings. So they go to hospitals, they can work in care homes, they can work in the private sector, and so many other different places. Whereas, as you know, if I'm employed by a particular hospital, I would always only work in that hospital and the particular department that I've been assigned to. So what are the pros of working as an agency nurse? So they are better paid. Some agency nurses earn between £20 per hour to over £50 per hour. But this is not for every type of shift. Some of them depend on whether you are working at night. It depends on your specialty, whether you're working in ITU, A&E, or wherever. It also depends whether you're working during the weekends, you're working at night, or bank holiday. So their pay depends on several other factors. Not all of them earn £50 or £60 per hour. So bear that in mind. The second pro for about working in an agency is the fact that you can choose where you want to work. You can choose the ward, and you can also choose when you want to work. If you're not disciplined and you like sleeping, you might not get as much. So you have to make sure you're disciplined. You tell yourself, I want to work 5 days this week, or I want to work 6 days this week, or I want to work 4 days this week, and make sure you book your shift. Because for some of us who are fully employed, we know we have to work 37.5 hours each week. I work Monday to Friday, 9 till 5. So I know I have to go to work. But if you're in an agency, you're more or less like self-employed. You have to just be disciplined and make sure you are able to book your shift. So you can choose when you want to work. Secondly, you can also choose where you want to work. So you can go and work at a particular place you don't like it, and you can decide next time you're not going back. You can decide on which city you want to, or which hospital or which department you want to pick a shift. So that's a good thing as well. The fourth point I have is that there is less stress. In the UK, I would not say there is no stress anywhere in any job. Agency nurses do face stressful situations as well as those of us who have full-time jobs. However, there is less stress working as an agency nurse, and you don't have to be dealing with all the pettiness and sometimes the workplace related politics, from colleagues, from managers, and all those things. You wouldn't be dealing with those things. Yes, when you go, you may face problems, which we'll talk about later. So yes, it's in that sense, I would say it's slightly a little bit less stressful than those who are in full-time substantive posts. And as an agency nurse, at the end of the shift, you make sure you get your time shift sheet. Can't speak English today. Your timesheet is signed, you sign off, and you've gone home. You are not coming back if you don't want to go back. So that's another thing. So another thing is you get a lot of different diversity, which means that you can work in different departments and you gain more experience. You never know, one day you decide to get a full-time job. You tell yourself, oh, when I worked here, I really liked it and I would like to explore working here, and you can go ahead and do that. So yes, there is much diversity in agency nurses. Another thing is you as an agency nurse, you don't have any managerial responsibility. You are not the one taking charge of the shift or anything. You go there, you do your job, and you're gone. Another one is that you can always find a full-time job whenever you feel you're no more enjoying the agency nursing role and you want to find a full-time job. You can always go back into full-time job. Let's look at the cons now, or the disadvantages of working as an agency nurse. So one of them is the fact that you have to sort out your own pension stuff. For example, for those of us who are in full-time job, we know that we contribute and our employers do contribute to our pension. But as an agency nurse, you may have to decide on putting aside your own private pension. Otherwise, you make all the money, and if you don't invest it for your future, you will retire. And yes, some of them do have, if you have got a contract with an agency, they may be paying like the state pension for you. But those of us, for example, in the NHS, yes, we contribute to the state pension as well as NHS pension. So at the end of the day, if I retire, when I retire at the retirement age, I would get my state pension in addition to my NHS pension. So you may have to put something aside or invest your money so that one day when you get into retirement age, you'll be able to, live happily. Another one is that the agency shift can be sometimes unpredictable. So there are times where I would say there is like dry season when there is not a lot of shifts around. But most often, because there is shortage of nurses still going on, most often agency nurses do get shifts. But there are times where these things can dry off. There are times where hospitals increase the bank pay for their staff. So some of the substantive staff, instead of going to work agency, they decide to work for their own hospital. So that's another thing. So it's just to bear that in mind. But they most often get shifts anyway. Another one is the fact that agency nursing can be a bit lonely and you will feel a bit isolated because you haven't got any colleagues to discuss and deal with. Although having colleagues has its own advantages and it does have its own disadvantages as well. So as an agency nurse, it can be a bit lonely out there because you just go, you work with new people every time and then you go home. So you really don't have colleagues. And you don't feel like being part of any particular team. So although you work as a team worker when you're there, you don't really feel part of a particular team. Another thing I've got is that you have to always make sure, or you have to be learning new things every time. So let's say you go to this hospital, you have to go and familiarize yourself I know the nursing process, everything is the same, but you go, each hospital have their procedures, their policies and everything, where they keep their arrest trolleys, where they keep the CD drug keys, where they keep this and that. So every time, and what sort of medication administration system they use. Majority now are using a computerized system of giving medication, and so you would have to find out each hospital, you have to learn what systems they have so you can use them. So that can be a bit difficult for some people. However, a lot of people are doing it anyway. Another point I have here is the fact that you have to know what you're doing. If you're an agency nurse, there is no, lagging behind. You need to know what you're doing. You have to be on top of your game, because sometimes when you go as an agency nurse, I have heard these before, and someone had told me about their own experiences before. Agency nurses, sometimes you get things wrong. The next thing they're doing is you'll be banned from going back to that hospital or that department. If something horribly goes wrong, that one definitely you'll be banned from that hospital. So you have to be careful, you have to be on top of your game. That is why most often agency, before they recruit you as an agency nurse, they normally require a 6-month nursing experience in the UK. You cannot just come in straight away, and I wouldn't advise anyone who has come in straight away to start working as an agency nurse. You have to understand the system, you have to know what happens on the wards. So you get about 6 months experience on the ward, then you should be ready to say, you know what, you can start by doing one agency shift occasionally, and then you can build it up. Another point I have is the fact that sometimes agency nurses do get frosty or not very nice reception when they report to the ward from the substantive staff on the ward. The reason being that, one, they know you're coming as agency nurse and you're going to be earning more than them on that shift. So some people don't like it. Sometimes other people, simply because they know that they have to assign you to areas and they have to be supporting you or helping you, because definitely if you are new to that particular place, you're going to be asking questions, and some of them, all they want is, they're already short, they want to get on with their job, but now they have to be babysitting or telling you, or you have to be going to them each time and asking, oh, where is this kept, how do I do this, where do I do this? Or you go and say, I'm not IV trained, so I can't do IV drugs, which means that unfortunately, that substantive staff is the one who is going to be doing all the IV drugs on the day. So sometimes it's understandable. So as soon as they know they're having an agency, anyway, let's not go into that. Another point I have is the fact that sometimes when you go on a ward as an agency nurse, the staff may be kind and put you on areas that are not so difficult, so you just carry on and you don't disturb them. There are times they may send you to the difficult places. I remember during the COVID, when the COVID was at its height, agency nurses were actually reporting that when they go to work, they are the ones who are sent to the COVID wards and all sorts of things. So these are some of the things. And you also, another point is you have to bear in mind about indemnity insurance, especially if you're doing agency nursing as full-time, you have to consider indemnity insurance. Those of us who are fully employed, we are covered by our employers. Sometimes the RCN or any union you're in may have some sort of cover, but I do not know about if you're full-time self-employed agency nurse. I believe you would have to get your own insurance in place to cover you just in case something goes wrong. Another thing which is a con or a disadvantage is the fact that sickness. So when you are self-employed agency nurse and you become unwell, unfortunately, you would have to, because if you don't work, you don't get paid. So the question is, how do you manage? Depending on your contract, you may be eligible to get a statutory sick pay, but statutory sick pay is not anything. It's not much compared to what you earn as an agency nurse even a week. So it would affect your finances. So it's important, if you are considering going into agency nursing, either you have something in place, for example, maybe critical illness or sickness insurance policies. You have to look out for things like that, so that you have things like that in place. For some of us who are fully employed, if I fall ill now, because I have about 19 years experience or work history with my employer, I would get about 6 months of my full salary and 6 months of half salary, you know. But if you're an agency nurse and God forbid you become unwell, that is if you're full-time agency nurse and God forbid you become unwell and you haven't got any savings and you haven't got any sickness policy to cover you, then unfortunately it would be difficult. But because you're earning a lot, I'm sure you would make sure you're saving as well. Those people who have just arrived from overseas as nurses, I believe you would have to consider, if you want to do agency nurse, it might be on part-time basis, as I said, maybe one here or there a week or once a month to build your confidence, and you carry on that way. And some people, after they've got the indefinite leave to remain, when they do not require any employer to give them a visa, some people, if they like to go agency way, they decide to go full-time agency, resign from their employment, do agency and make their money. Especially, you know, I know people who did that because they feel they are not getting the professional development they think they would get, and they felt, you know what, why not go and do agency? So that is something people can consider in the future. You can do that, and it does help so that if you have family, it makes things a bit flexible for you. It gives you that family life balance you want, because you are not on any strict roster with your employer. You work when you want, you work what time. If because of childcare you can only do night, you can do that. If because of childcare you want to do maybe half day or this or that, you can pick shifts like that. And there are some who are single and they haven't got family commitment. They actually get block booking, so they can have like 2 months or 1 week or 3 weeks or whatever contract somewhere in a completely different city, and they go and stay there and work and make the money, and then they come back home. So I hope and hope again this video has been helpful, and I believe for you, the one who have asked me to do this video, I hope it answers your question. If you do have any further questions, please feel free and get back to me, comment. And if you're out there, you are an overseas nurse or anyone at all, you're considering agency nursing. I'm not an agency nurse, I'm a full-time nurse. But if you do have any questions, feel free to put it in a comment section and I definitely will get back to you. And if you're out there and you have a topic you would like me to talk about, feel free to drop that in a comment section as well. And I'll try my best to do that. It might not be straight away, but it takes time, but I will put something together for you. So have a lovely day and take care of yourself, and I shall see you very soon. Bye bye.